Although this video has information that Congress does not have because some of them are hiding it and with their sources of the other branches. They're on TV now, right now on Fox News. I believe also on CNN and MSNBC. Distinctly, non-distinctly, and hyper simultaneously. They have roles with news fabrications where the news has the right to lie with the interbranch. And originally, and still, the breaching method knew that they would use that right to lie where they don't have the right to lie. And they would stay in the furtherance of sick things like being incapable of even being able to speak properly about how, why. The breaching method applied black people, the course of black pupils and whites of eyes abridged that which is hypernative pure, for example. And this is per science, for example, to define the hypersimultaneous as that distinct from the distinct identities of simultaneous that being an individual is, being a species body at the same time simultaneously, and group differences, male, female, ages, sexes, areas, locations, states. See, these lessons to us by nature about how to think have been replaced by these abridged systems since semi-ancient times. So the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, is one of the ones involved with James Comey, involved with Connecticut courts planting fabricated federal evidence as crimes. Also at the crime scenes, not just the courts. Obviously, if you're at the courts with federal evidence crimes, your roles with the crime scenes / hypercrime scene. We're going to examine how they blamed on other things, others, ourselves, and how they could do that, motivated to that, even. How we are in suburbs that were designed since before our founders were born by the torture method, the slavery method, that tactically denatured all locations to force the only means to cause to force negative nature to demonstrate the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, while they are being forced to be blamed on other things, others, ourselves, including when there was truths with that. They're using truths as lies. The FBI, the identities of the branches of government, the identities of law have been raised tactically, criminally, foreign influenced. Qualities, aspects of fact-cheating nature itself, too. Criminal insidiousness. Self-value having been legalized by a slavery method, a torture / slavery method against our founders, sickly distinctly from against the other colonists, Native Americans, people labeled black, now no longer in conjunction with blacks' actual course by nature. How and why we have black people's whites of eyes in demonstration to us. A breaching method was entrenched here before our founders were born, let alone were built the cities. The cities were constructed, the suburbs had already been sustained, caused to negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, while criminal insidiousness natures of means to cause positive value nature progressions, acts, and natures were effectively, tactically, simultaneously presented, used by the fact, cheap nature, quality aspects, and natures of colonists A through Z. Native Americans against Native Americans. This is the human volume science manifest attached to others, individually grouped in and species body. Voicings now increasingly incapable of using the sophistication, the hyper sophistication. So sophistication has stayed criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatments, not just negative treatments. Wherever there's a positive or negative treatment, there's an identity treatment. Slavery was and is involved with an identity theft, fraud, slander method that hurts people sickly distinctly because it's against everyone. So they're preventing us to free speech from demonstrating how they got away with this. Little tricks the FBI has roles with. Since I was I went to 9 different campuses since I was a kid. The FBI has roles with federal criminals and with police forms and names with the interbranch that have been switching names, stacking fake things in databases. The former director of the FBI has co-defendants of Thaddeus Grabowski on off a 2006 district court case involved with federal crimes with him on off spots next to Fox Connecticut News, who also fabricated information with other news agencies and the retired and standing interbranch sources and names next to their locations. This is a location usage. It used the location of modern countries A through Z, speaking for science as a bridge, nature demonstrating that and then pretending not to realize. So Fox WTNH also fabricated emails. The FBI and the retired and standing interbranch, they coached the people with the phones to replace what's actually recorded with fabricated audio and video transcripts. Some ways people from Australia, some ways people from America forced collusions on off our campuses, leading up. And in other words, this is also relevant to how they bring other countries' names in. And so, in other words, fix this name switching and forging. This court's New Britain Superior Court has a whole bunch of people involved with District Court of Connecticut, with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, with his coach with all sides of criminal and civil cases, and with victims advocates planting federal evidence as crime acts methods and per the uses of that years later involved. And increasingly, there's a Phil Collo that a Bob Chase confessed, recorded, demonstrated, confirmed is involved with the Whiting Forensics. Whiting Forensics also has roles in the Witness Protection Program with the FBI and state police and military police families, and their roles with Russians, also with corners on Griswold Street, as people also involved with names next to schools in Hartford, Connecticut, that have been and where and how investigations and investigators influence others to ask questions to people. Might have been there's a Carrie there. She might have been an investigator, police from I don't know. Next to a CCSU magnet school on Franklin Avenue. There were a whole bunch of Weatherfield police confessed and demonstrated people with the name Scalora are involved with their officers switching names and with predicate acts on my street, federal evidence as crimes, which are also interbranch. Various natures of courts, prosecutors, and judges, too. Names of the hallways of the courts through time involve with predicate acts with them, switching names, switching sequences, fake things into databases. They have a Leahy family that pretended conversations, man, never had a conversation with me. They pretended through the mail to my mother, too, and about legal cases that were involved with her that they won. Like NLRB case my father won, National Labor Relations Board. They have unions, leaderships that have been spreading lies about the candidates and about their family members. Where they have criminal and foreign influence readings of statutes where the right to lie has been applied for where they don't have the right, they use it anyway. They speak about power and blame it on things like power. Tactically, delusions raw. Nature shows us the course about power comes with understanding what criminal insidiousness is about. But per its system, it does not deny, it does not value sequence shifts. It does not value people pretending that allegations are not. In other words, they've been putting all sides in legal cases to put fake things in the databases. There's a Brian Silver who is involved with the Leahy family also with the Connecticut District Court and with former director of the FBI and his co-defendants and their lawyer, Robert Chevalier, and the Thaddeus Grabowski. There's a Dominic Lepriato and his neighbors and their family members are also involved with state police, FBI, like Eric Jensen. I don't know if he lived in Wethersfield. He might have lived near me in Wethersfield. I didn't know that. I still don't know for a fact. And Eric Mendez, I don't know where he lived. There are people next to a John Maiano. He might have lived there. A Jonathan Maiano is one of the ones with the foreign and domestic military and interbranch names, like New Britain Superior Court has a bunch of names involved with federal evidence as crimes and child abuses with a John Maiano. He also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed a Christine Bedard, also involved with other people. Were in two times I took a cooking class when I was in high school. Both times they stacked people in that cooking class who had roles with federal evidence as crimes, with names on my street, and the Weathersfield plants, for police and the courts involved, and the FBI involved. So, in other words, the FBI also has with a whole bunch of other countries, a whole bunch of tactical delusions, and physical delusions, identity delusions, and nature delusions. I'm not a doctor. I'm going to show you them this way when we get them on paper too. So the interbranch have been preventing paper. That's one of the things that they do when they're caught individually grouped and together. They use predicate acts methods individually that are distinct from their methods grouped and together. They have wire and mail crime methods. Switching names is one of the things they do non-distinctly, though, when they do things strictly distinctly, too, since founding. They cannot speak for Native American, let alone black pupils, whites of eyes. This course abridged, let alone the Constitution. The Constitution is a bridge in our face. New York City, what made that is going to cause negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. They have the stupid fakes that came through these campuses abused. They can't think now. So they're gonna pretend that, oh, we need school choice. That's how we do it. They're just keeping the argument going. And all sides fake integrity of logic, of science. They've been making up things. So follow mandated law for Weathersfield Police and the Weathersfield State Judicial Branch offices. Fear God to pretend it's personal. Get on paper. That's what we have things unsettled on paper for. When you have guns and knives and poisons involved. You have fire departments involved with the Russians, too, with the Americans. Little sick, fake punks in backgrounds that don't even know me. One kid was bullied. Now, now he's got a different name. Everyone repeats his name. Harry Dickman or something like that. Now he's got a different name. Maybe because of that, in other words. It wasn't legitimate people bullying him because of his name. They just have rules with the fire departments attaching sequence shifts. They also do, they start fights with people and they'll use weaknesses and strengths. And either way, they set up the location. They set up scenarios. They use corners of buildings to use truths for lies, where they have federal evidence as crimes, where they have worse than extortion. How long I've been asking you to follow mandated law? Now you guys owe me more than a pension. Fear God for uses of Congress, pretending they can think, pretending they can speak for honesty. See black pupils, whites of eyes. There are sickly delusions wrought. Follow mandated law for them. It's real easy to fix things. They're pretending it's hard because they're all bullshitters. Excuse my language. They're all fake. So they've been using Facebook and transcript. They have roles. The FBI has roles with other agencies and military, switching names too, with the courts, fabricating and changing what's recorded online on Facebook and on Twitter. Make sure you get them on paper. Fear God for hiding this from Congress, FBI, and from yourselves. Don't hide it. Don't hide it. And fix the wire crimes with Weathersfield Police. Let's go. Get those transcripts on paper because there's some fakes ones there. I'll show you what to do. Oh.